Okay, good. Welcome, gentlemen. You have the floor. Glenn?
Thank you. Just before we start, Sherry, I just want to make notice in regards to the young man that was here with his mom. I had an opportunity to listen to his presentation, and while I was out there, we made a large contribution on behalf of that young man, on behalf of the Essex Ravens football program, just so you know. Those things for us are extremely important, and we do that throughout the community anytime we get an opportunity to do that, so I just wanted to make sure that was noted. I want to thank everybody who came out in attendance today. Obviously, this is a pretty important issue, I think, as you can see by our membership. And I'm going to let Joe and Scott proceed here.
I'd like to address council on the arena acquisition. I've been talking to a lot of different groups in our community, find out what we need to make a difference in growing our youth and offering a huge opportunities for our up-and-coming athletes. Everyone I've spoken to has answered answered that our youth has less opportunities for growth as an athlete and advanced skills needed to make a difference in an athletic world. We've had a few people come to our town, make it to pro football, Ed Fillion and Colin Danes, Olympic wrestler, which has both been coached by Glenn Mills here. As well as many more around the county. And everyone said the same thing, year-round training is insufficient. Not to say that Windsor has enough facilities as well, but the opportunity to open a facility and compete with the Amherstburg and the West Windsor Noveletta Center and the Dominion Dome while keeping it a non-profit facility with any money that is being brought to this endeavor to be funneled back into our programs to enable a community to engage in otherwise unavailable programs. Speaking firsthand, I've had issues with renting facilities for my team for practice and exhibition games with the Windsor teams. I've found we've been bumped out of the lineup due to necessity for non-community. We don't belong to that Windsor community, so we get bumped out of the lineup for it. We struggle to find adequate facilities to house 30-plus players to practice with and still stay competitive with the other city-based clubs and the club, Chicharo Club, all those other clubs that are around that have their private facilities and arenas and whatnot. As you know, Glenn Mills and Joe Malarick run a top-notch program, putting together more athletes in the collegiate scholarships than any other program in the area. And they have support from their alumni agreeing that if it wasn't for their program, they wouldn't be where they are today. The Essex Yellow Jackets, our competitive baseball group, also have taken their funds to the city of Windsor because lack of facilities, and yet they still managed to pull together a contending team. But still, the money that is intended to go to our community is being spent into the surrounding communities. Vardar Soccer is mostly a group located mainly in Michigan and the States, but I put together a team based here in Essex County, and I had chosen to practice and make Essex their home base because of the location being so centered to their athletes it's comprised of. They just recently traveled to Spain and competed, and because of the exposure of some of their players, have been asked to return and train and play with the Barcelona teams. When asking the community in Essex, there was also an interest in the business sectors as well. Example, the daycare centers would be willing to use the facility for their children to exercise and play as close to being as outside as possible during the winter months. Where did I leave off? Oh, the Fun Fest. The Fun Fest is an annual festival that we as residents has partaken in for many years, and would use either close the facility for that weekend that it is happening, or use it as a benefit for attendance for running indoor tournaments or other functions or whatever we can do to assist in bringing more people to our area. The military muster was mentioned as well, and we feel that there was always time to remember our veterans and heroes, and we have no problem working with the groups to ensure that the time is provided is to help and promote a successful presentation for them. We've also had letters from local area athletes. Like I said, Ed Fillion, he has wrote us a letter also supporting us. Colin Danes, he's also supported us. And Glenn has a few other of his people that have talked to him on a regular basis. One other thing I like to say is AM 800 ran a poll on their website today, and as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, it was at a 77% for an athletic facility. So, thank you.
Okay, we're allowing both of you 5 minutes, so you still got quite a bit of time. You haven't hit the first one yet, Glenn. So.
Okay, great. Then what I'm going to do is going to read a couple letters, first from Colin Danes, and then second from Ed Filion in their support of our proposal. To whom it may concern, it is brought to my attention that the building structure formerly known as Essex Memorial Arena could possibly be demolished unless the people of Essex stand up and fight against this action. Having been born and raised in Essex, creating a life immersed in sport, and eventually becoming a member of the 1996 Canadian Olympic Wrestling Team, I strongly advise that this building remain standing and function as a dry multi-sport facility. In my opinion, there is no need to venture into the town's feelings and sentimental attachment to this building. I hold a completely different perspective toward the debate of demolishing this structure. I think we are miles ahead of the game on this one. With the way things have been heading for this town in recent years, this building is exactly what we need. We could really use an indoor year-round facility for our athletes to train in, and we're so lucky to be so far ahead of the game. Can you imagine the cost of building a new one? This building is perfect for all intentions of the Ravens and the Hurricanes, and can be leased out to others as well. It would be foolish to tear down something that is structurally sound simply to spend more money and build a parking lot. Sports is and always will be a staple of this community. We produce numerous high-level athletes from this area, and we can now add a high-level coaching to that list. We are moving fast in that direction, and anyone that is even remotely involved in a sports program in this area is confident that we are only getting better. We are central on the map, which gives us a great opportunity to host events and allow us to attract other people to our town, and local business can thrive. I am confident that all those involved in keeping and maintaining the Essex Memorial Arena can and will devise a plan that makes sense for both the town and supporting community. My involvement in sports grew at its first roots here in the town of Essex. It has allowed me to continue my education through university, travel the world several times over, and proudly represent this town and our country on the international stage. The spirit and people of Essex stand with me in every competition I enter. I hope that athletes of future generations are able to feel the same way for years to come. I ask that this building remain where it stands, and those doors remain open for each and every day that it is open, a day a champion might walk through. By doing so, you're giving the individual the opportunity for a better life, opportunity to open an incredible amount of doors in their future, give them a chance, keep the building. Sincerely, Colin Danes, 1993 Essex Red Raider, 1996 Canadian Olympian. Second letter is from Ed Filion. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell the Essex Town Council how the Essex Memorial Arena impacted the direction of my life and the path I took. This isn't about any particular sport, but rather about options and opportunity. Without the arena, I, along with many others, would not stand as successful lives and careers that they enjoy today. The arena gave me a reason to stay in school. I was able to perform well enough academically in the classroom to be eligible to earn a football scholarship to Fair State University in Michigan. Without athletics as my focus, there wouldn't have been the same motivation to remain engaged academically. There are a million stories like mine throughout university athletics, wherever the sport. And education isn't for everyone, but seems to be more important today than ever before. Without the arena, there would have been no Fair State University. The arena helped me get to the next level. After completing 4 years, I signed with the Buffalo Bills as an undrafted free agent. The desire to compete was nurtured at that arena. That was what helped me make the team out of training camp. I was able to play 4 years in the NFL before eventually coming back home to Canada, where I played 8 more years with the Montreal Alouettes before retiring at the age of 36. Without the arena, there would not have been a 12-year professional football career. Having to start all over again professionally, the arena provided me with mentors, coaches, that I wanted to model my life after. When I retired from the sport, I was looking for something to replace that playing football gave me, and what I discovered was coaching was that thing. The second best thing to playing is coaching, and that is what I've done for the past 2 years. I spent my first year with the Argos before accepting a job in Edmonton, where I currently am. Without the arena, the coaches I had growing up would not have been able to inspire me and be the coach I am today. In the beginning, I began mentioning that saving the Memorial Arena wasn't about sport, but rather opportunity. I believe that by converting the arena into an indoor training facility, you will be adding a different chapter to the same book. The stories of success will be similar, but the reasons for those stories will remain the same. In a time where finances often dictate, I believe that the opportunity this facility will provide year-round for levels of a variety of sport is one that makes the most sense. I believe I'm not alone here. Please allow others to have the same opportunities that I was blessed with. Thank you, Ed Filion, Essex resident, 1970 to present.
Thank you very much, sir. Going to let this thing go on. We're really close. Thanks a lot. Council members, any questions of the delegations? Oh, Deputy Mayor Malash, and then
Thank you, through your worship. Just kind of reiterate what Councillor Bonnie had said earlier, was that I think first of all what we have to do is have the study done to see whether or not the building is actually worthy of being given more life. I am all for repurposing buildings rather than tearing them down. So if the building's in good enough condition that we can repurpose it, and there's a group out there that is willing to take that repurposing on, for me it's a no-brainer. It needs to happen. So, and I would like to see our administration and our council work to as hard as possible to try and make this happen as quickly as possible. And I'd like to see business plans come forward so that once we know the building is feasible to be able to move forward. And if so, I believe that personally, I am all for having some kind of repurposing of this building. And I was glad to hear Scott say too that I think it was Scott that said it, that you would work with the military group too if they didn't happen to be the successful proponents. But it has to be financially viable. The town has to know that you're going to be able to keep the operation running. And that's with any group that would step forward to take over the building, because at this point in time, the town itself can't afford to get involved and run the operation itself. So with that said, great presentation, very nice letters. Thank you for coming out tonight, and let's get this thing moving.
thank you, Richard. Councilor Vokes?
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for coming, taking time out of your evening to be here. With that being said, I think it's time we, as a council, we step up to the plate and we talk about some fairness and equalities, because the reality is that we know this group before us, especially in that of Mr. Mills, come to us some time period ago and asked for usage of the arena and some turfing, and then we surrendered that current piece of real estate to Lakeshore for the purpose of ice. And then they never gave up on that, as Sherry talked about earlier, about dreaming. They never gave up on that dream, and when the opportunity arose, they once again come back to council to endorse and support the usage of that. And I can tell you right now, as we speak, in the Larry Bauer Arena in Amherstburg, they have a turf area in there, and they have a lineup waiting for people to use that facility. There's never a unused moment in that particular turf area in that arena. So with that being said, I think obviously that I would assume council will support moving forward with the report to get the structural study done, which is obviously something I asked for in the last meeting. So I'm pleased, at least I'm hoping tonight we do get that opportunity to move forward with that. But I want a little bit more. I want a little bit more out of it, because the term of the report from tonight of initiating the report to be done, and I'm hoping council concurs with that, so I'm assuming they're going to, till the time we get that report back. I think there's time, and I think there's opportunity, unless Mr. Sweet could shine a different time frame on us. I think there's opportunity for you three gentlemen to start the discussions with administration, because there are tons to talk about. And we've also talked to military muster tonight, as you know, and Councillor Malash suggested the same thing to them, that they come forward with a plan to the town of Essex on their intent and how it would roll out. So I'm asking and I'm going to ask council that we give a direction to administration to start the discussions with the gentleman before us that talks about the real estate transfers, the taxes, the cost of running it, the parking issues, and if the structural study comes back and would suggest that it's not worthy of saving, no harm, no foul. If the study comes back that it shows it's profoundly sound and there's financial opportunity from whoever the interested party may be to support it, then we can move forward with it without delay, because I think we've delayed you long enough, by far. So that will be my, if that needs to be done through a motion, then I have a willingness to do that. If it can be just done through the form of direction, I also have a motion. That's my position. So I'm hoping that within the very, very near future, we can start the discussions on using that facility as a turf arena. But again, I want to remind everybody here that we have a diligence to the taxpayer, Glenn, and all you gentlemen before us. We have a responsibility, so we will take a good look at it and what it means, but hopefully we can make that work. Hopefully we can get that as a facility that you dream of. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Anything further? Anyone else? Okay. First of all, thank you, gentlemen. Great presentation.
I'm not sure,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure, I got a rough plan from administration, but I thought, Doug, were you going to talk about what your plans were or anything like that? You put a report together, correct? That's what we're supposed to be here for, to hear a report, right?
We're going to approve it. Like, we have it here in front of us.
Okay.
Like, that's, if you have anything further to say, I'll let you, and then we're going to receive your presentation, and then we're going to receive this report from Doug Sweet with 2 recommendations, and I'll read them off so everyone knows what they are.
If I could, Your Worship. So the purpose of understanding, in the event some of the people want to leave here, because I think that report is obviously later on.
No, it's next.
Oh, it's next. So then, without having to come back, then could it be known if the report is approved by council that we start the discussions with administration?
Randy, yeah, it's right here. Let me get her done, okay? Let me get her done. Get her done, Tom. Okay, we need the report from these gentlemen be received. Councillor Bowman, Councillor Scott, any questions to the report? All in favor? Motion carried. Now, further, we have a report requested by council of our gentleman Doug Sweet here, that he bring a report back to us with regards to the Essex Memorial Arena update, and 2 recommendations. Following recommendation provided for council's consideration. First of all, that County Services 2014-008 report entitled Essex Memorial Arena Update be received for council information, and number 2, an updated engineering report be commissioned, and subject to its findings, council provide direction to administration on how they wish to proceed with the Estes Memorial Arena. So that's what you're asking for, Councilor Vokes. But you're asking to go ahead of this, what the report recommends.
Yeah, I'm asking.
Yeah, well, we're dealing with this, and you try to get that after, okay?
Okay.
This is a recommendation. So
Yeah,
everyone's...
I'll make it a separate motion.
Yeah, good. So everyone's knows what we're going to vote on. This
Question?
Councilor Bonnie.
Just a question. Oh, just a question in terms of the engineering report. Are we looking at a mechanical, plumbing, and electrical? Full? Because last time I believe it was just a structural. Okay, I just want to get that clear. All of it. All right, good.
Okay, Councilor Bowman.
I'll move the recommendations. I don't think it's been moved yet.
Right. Supported by Councilor Vokes. Any questions to the motions? Councilor Bowman.
I just think that's the next step in the process, and when that information gets back, then you can really sink your teeth into what direction you're going. These guys will know exactly what's in front of them, and everybody else that's purporting an interest in it will have everything right up front, and we can go from there. And I would trust that they would be kept updated along the way to what's going on, so, yeah.
Okay, anything further? Councilor Vokes?
So, okay, I understand all that, but I want to make sure that the wheels keep turning. So Doug, when we get a structural report done, obviously we're gonna pass this tonight for you to move forward and get that study done. When we get those studies done, how long is the timeline from the time you initiate it to the time the engineers look at it to the time because if it's a 1 month or a 6-week period, I don't understand why, and I'll make it a separate motion, I understand that, but I don't understand if it's that time period, then I'm going to be asking that the discussions actually start on the process.
Through you, Your Worship, I did make initial calls today to see the time frame for the engineering report, and because the scope would be different in the past, where in the past it was kind of under the assumption to be for 2 to 3 years to maintain it, now we're asking 10, 15, 20 years, so the scope's a little more detailed. They said it would take about a week to go in and do the actual inspection, and 3 to 4 weeks to do a report back to us.
So I'll be making a separate motion to start the discussions with the town of Essex too. And then if the report shows that there is no interest in it for whatever reason, then we stop the proceedings.
Okay, to the motion. Anything else to the motion? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Councilor Vokes?
I'm going to put a motion forward that recognizing the time frame to get the structural study back to the Corporation of the Town of Essex and the time concerned, that the discussions start immediately with the representatives of Ravens and Warriors Football Club for the turf arena use.
We have a seconder. Councilor Scott, questions to the motion? Councilor Bowman?
While I'd like to see it move forward quicker there rather than later, I think it's very unfair to the groups to be trying to negotiating something they don't know exactly what they're negotiating on yet. I think that'd be pretty unfair to try and do that without, the numbers on the floor to really work with.
Councilor Vokes?
Thank you for allowing me to speak that, Your Worship. I know you're giving me some leeway here, and I appreciate that. I think, Councillor Bowman, that as long as they have a willingness to do it, and they know what they're getting into, and they know they could have a lot of spent time in doing it, where I'm asking council to recognize our administration will likewise have the same. We will likewise have the same. So that's what I'm asking, obviously, council to do. Recognize the fact that administration, too, will have an abundance of time of putting a tentative plan together. But as long as they have a willingness to surrender their time to do it, then no harm, no foul.
I'm defending our people. Councilor Bundy and then our CAO, Russ Phillips.
Thank you. I know that there is a sense of urgency here, Councillor Vokes, and I understand that. I'd like to kind of echo what Councillor Bowman is saying, though. I'm a little worried about town staff investing a lot of time in this if it comes back that the building is not what we hope it to be. I also have a question to administration, perhaps to Mr. Phillips, or perhaps even Donna Hunter, and I just want to make sure all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. If council supports Councillor Vokes' motion, does that put us in any predicament in terms of procurement and tendering? Is that legally, is that something that we can do, is have a in principle agreement with the Ravens tonight? I guess that's my question.
Mr. Phillips?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, in response first to Councillor Bondi's question, I don't believe it does put us in any jeopardy in terms of procurement. It would be that it's a wish of council at this point in time. We have done leases with other agencies and other groups based on their need. I think that we can certainly have ongoing discussions with them in the interim, but I think I lean along the ways that certainly Administration Doug's report spoke to the fact that first we would get an opinion on structural and mechanical. Then we're in a position where we know exactly what we can be dealing with them in terms of. There are other elements to it, though, in terms of we have not seen a business plan. I certainly would like to sit down with them and talk about those things in terms of their ability, their financial ability and those things, and to determine, excuse me, whether the lease or an outright purchase or how they would like to move forward on this. So I think it certainly it would be advantageous to have some of those discussions in advance of, but again, as being pointed out, don't want to, spin our wheels if we find out at the end of the day that the building is deemed not usable without putting in extreme amounts of money, and we don't know that right now. We assume that there's a range, and I think we talked about that before. Certainly willing to sit down with the gentleman. We've offered that before, and we can certainly do that in the intervening period of time to understand both perspectives. There are a number of conditions you'll see in the report. I don't know if you received copy of that. It's in tonight's agenda package, but it does talk about the conditions of use of the building, and I think those are the things that we should be talking about. So I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but if you folks are willing to invest the time, certainly we are.
I think there's definitely some things I think we can get, sorry.
Excuse me, Glenn, we have a motion on the floor, and you can't allow anyone out there to speak, just council or administration. Sorry. Yes, Sherry, go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. And I'm certainly in favor of having the report, and I hope that it works out favorably. I was in the tear-down band camp a while ago, but I see the value in it. And I almost think that when this report comes back, we need to have a special meeting of council. We need to allot a significant amount of time to this issue, because I want to make sure that we do everything right. We've had some serious problems at this town with leases, and so we don't want to go through that again if it's a lease.
Councillor Scott.
Through your worship, I think as we're waiting for this structural report, because I think things will take longer rather than shorter, traditionally that's what happens, we can have these concurrent discussions like the CAO said of all the other details, because it's more than a structural report. We're talking about transfer of land, partnerships, all parking, a lot of other challenges that I think we should start that dialogue with. Whatever happens with this, I think we need to start that. So that's why I'll support that motion. And also, if Coach Mills wants to speak too, I'd like to allow that. He can't until we're okay. Maybe afterwards when we're done. That's all.
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I too support Randy's motion. I think there's other issues that are out there. The parking issue is one that maybe we can work through, get some ideas on. But the business plans quite definitely. And not just for the Ravens and the Hurricanes, but also for Psalm Group, if they want to bring forward their plan as well. To present to, this way, by the time it comes before council in 3 or 4 weeks, administration has had time to work through your business plans to get them finite, to the point where council at that point in time can make a quick decision, because they've already worked with you on getting that plan to where it needs to be, to give council some reassurance in making a decision. So I think it's a good idea. What Councillor Vokes is presenting here is to have administration work somewhat with the groups that are interested in this facility. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bowman for the second time.
After hearing the arguments, I think it's appropriate, and I will support it now. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few comments myself, just a couple maybe. I wasn't for it originally, but I probably am now. I'm just thinking of our administration. I know how hard they work in there, and stuff gets piled up and everything else. And I don't want to see too big a project of trying to get this off the ground if, when we get the report back, it's just squashed. And I would like to say that anyone else, like Psalm, who is interested, we have to have them at the table also when we're talking about what are we going to do. Like, you guys will work with them, they'll work with you. There's no problem. I know that these little towns, that's how they work. That's how we get by. But we all need to be at the table at the same time. That's all. Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Council.
Great presentation. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say that I think there's a lot of things that can be worked out in regards to uses of land and things like that can get done. In regards to the financial situation, we have no problem disclosing it once we get to the point that that building is feasible to be able to do the upgrades to it. I mean, with obviously, there's several other people that are interested in that building. We're not going to come flat out and tell you exactly what our plan is, due to the fact that I don't know what these people, I don't want to give everybody what our plan is. I mean, I'm keeping that close to my vest, right? I mean, we got a plan, but I'm keeping it close to my vest, and I'm being honest about that. So, I mean, I have no problem discussing the other things and things like that, but, when it's time to go, we can go. Yeah, like Joe was saying, several years ago, we were here, and we put all that stuff together, and we had all the backing, we had the financials and everything, and we found out, several months later, that it was rented out to Lakeshore, and I mean, as you guys stated, we wasted a lot of time, we don't want to waste a lot of time again, so until this thing's a go, we can discuss some other things, but, the financial commitment part of it, we'll be happy to sit down when it's a go.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to everyone, there was some talk about support, and us being renters, if you want to call it that, for all the other facilities that are around here. As you can see through our teams, our Hurricanes and Vardar teams, the Ravens, the Yellow Jackets, they're all here. Everyone is for this, and I'm really certain that we could take care of the cost that comes up, let alone from rentals, but through also bursaries and whatnot through the government.
You and to the youth here, stick with it. You got a great bunch of coaches here. I don't think in all my time I've ever saw anybody go through hockey in town or baseball in town or soccer in town turn out to be a bad kid. You are taught by these gentlemen to act the way adults should act. So stick with it. Thanks for coming.
Glenn, you're such a raven, nobody knows what you're going to do in the third quarter.
Randy, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.